Heyo. Welcome to another episode of the Memo Show, where we have creative conversations with creative people, and I get to pick their brains a little bit. So today, I had the pleasure of speaking with a gentleman by the name of Michael Grepp. If you don't know him, you soon will. He's currently working on a full-on animated debut called World Co. Look out for that. It's going to be hitting festivals soon, and has been the other half of Loserville Animation Studios, which you can find on YouTube. He was so nice enough that he let me put a couple of these cartoons dispersed within the show. So when we talk about them, I kind of drop them in. So if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, that's where you will see them. Not only that, he's an actor and an industry specialist that provides virtual classes to help aspiring actors learn about the industry and how to fine-tune their acting skills. You can find that at thetalentspot.org. So he's a teacher as well. That seems to be a thread that goes through most of these episodes. A lot of creative type people end up loving to teach as well and make great teachers as well. He shares his multifaceted journey in the world of animation and voice acting, discussing the importance of collaboration, the technical aspects of animation production, and the influences that shaped his creative style. We go way back into our childhood. We talk about Looney Tunes. We talk about Newgrounds, when like the internet was starting to really take off, and then all the way up to Adult Swim. So we cover all that stuff, which was really fun. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Michael Grepp. Well, welcome to the Memo Show. Thanks for being on. We like to have creative conversations.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. With like creative people, and I know you are very creative. You, from what I've gathered, are a man of many hats. The first thing I learned about you was you're into animation. You have Loserville Animation Studios, but then I found out you're an actor too, a voice actor. You do a bunch of stuff. Do you want to tell us a little bit about everything you do?
Yeah, so literally the reason I had to delay our call a little bit was I was on the phone with he's like my best friend, my partner in crime, my co-creator on everything, and he's the visual side of Loserville. His name's Michael Grepp. If he was free right now, he'd be an awesome person to hop on, but he and I have been making cartoons for, I think it's been about 10 years now, but
yeah, I saw
we
that,
got
10
started.
Years.
Yeah, but we got started kind of like you in that, just making music. He and I were we weren't best friends. We were friends in high school and we were in a band together, and he played bass, I sung, and sometimes played guitar. And that was kind of our introduction to our creative partnership. And then I've been in LA for almost 15 years, but he moved out here about 10 years ago. And he just started posting, hey, I'm trying to get into the animated space. And I just sent him a message hey, dude, you know me, I'm always doing sound. If you just need me to record somebody, because I was acting at the time, but I hadn't really thought much about voice acting because it's really different. Voice acting is all in your head because you don't have that character to work off of. You're not necessarily the character. Whereas is acting, it's just drawing out a version of me. With voice acting, it's still you, but you're trying to build out this whole world, and it's all in your head. When you go to a studio, to record, you're in a studio booth. That's it. When you're on set in a film, you have some grounded world. So without going too down a rabbit hole, I just was hey, let me bring my audio expertise, and we kind of just started riffing on some of the characters. And then I eventually started, doing voice acting with him. He does voice acting in some of our work, but that was kind of the beginning. It was just kind of hey bro, you need to come over, record some stuff. Let's do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. It just kind of happened organically. You're saying you went in with the intention of one thing and then you came out with the other, but who does the animation part of it? Is that the other Michael?
So there's, and we're both Michael G's, so it's really confusing. We can't both be oh, what's that? It's Michael or some things. Yeah. The other Michael, he draws everything, and we write together. There are some scripts in the past. It's been more him because his background is he's an artist and he's a writer, and I'm more the crazy creative guy to bring stuff to life or come up with something else or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of the dynamic I have with my co-writer. I brought him on one episode one time. He's been my friend for years and years, going back to childhood, and we actually started a separate show because he had so many like crazy ideas for stuff to do on this show. And I was like, well, let's just make another show and just have it be like a free for all, and we can do like skits and we can do like whatever we want to do. So we're currently working on that. But yeah,
Oh, it's awesome.
I love having someone to, you know, work on stuff creatively with. It's great to be creative, but being able to collaborate with someone else is so awesome. So with the Loserville stuff, that's been around for almost like 10 years. Yeah, it's mostly on YouTube, right? You have an Instagram too, but it's mostly on YouTube. And it definitely brings me back to, oh my God, like almost like right when the internet came out. We're talking like Newgrounds, like .com, like that stuff. Just the dawn of the internet and animation, because you couldn't download like high def stuff back then, and it was all Flash animation.
All the Flash.
Oh man,
yeah.
It brings back such nostalgia, and it's so great to see people still doing it in that style as well. Is that some of your inspiration behind that, and what kind of equipment and software do you guys use?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because before we got on YouTube, we did kind of end up hopping on the tail end of Newgrounds, but by then it was so like kind of like, I don't know if it's saturated the right word. It's kind of like it had already become a walled garden where we got there at the back end, right? That is a huge inspiration though. I mean, for us, like there were so many different like Flash cartoons, I think, but probably you and I could talk about for days that were an inspiration. I mean, that was Homestar Runner, the like, okay, so here's the Earth round, you know, like that, like the end of the world video, like that stuff, you know, you share in college or like the end of like high school for us. But also just like Nicktoons. I think Nicktoons are a huge inspiration. You know, I think a lot of like any animated media you've probably seen, Garrett, since like the 90s is something that we gobbled up.
Yeah.
And then kind of like regurgitated to bring our own voice to it. But to talk like more on the technical side, I know our earlier work was Flash. I know he's told me the software he currently uses, it's definitely different, more powerful software. And then, you know, he renders his stuff, and then he'll give me the different clips, and then I compile everything in Final Cut Pro. And I'll literally, I mean, it's funny because I think I told you this story when I first met you. Like, I'll literally have like Final Cut Pro going and Logic going, and I'll be like scoring it and compiling it and like popping them over, editing it. So I kind of do like the finishing touches, so to speak, to get more like the technical end. But that's what's so amazing about technology, though, is the things we can do now are like, it's what would have been like a multi-million-dollar studio only like 10 years ago. Yeah. I mean, like the technology is just incredible, let alone like some of the animated, like Flash animations you're talking about. They might take like 5 minutes to load, and these are just JPEGs, you know, these are just GIFs. These are just like very simple. Like Homestar Runner is like so simple. It's so bright and colorful, and it's there, but it's so simple compared to even like what we were making 10 years ago. And now like, it's not I think I sent you like that kind of like sample pilot of like WorldCo though, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like the most, you know, you could say state of the art of what we're doing technology wise. That was also Michael Goroff's. I always call him Michael Goroff because I think if I'm saying Michael, it's like I'm talking about myself, so it's like weird. So I think he actually prefers Mike, so maybe I'll start calling him Mike.
Yeah, just Mike,
because then we can differentiate.
Michael.
So when Mike was making WorldCo 2, that was kind of like his, hey, let me take the time to really show my also most technical animation, because he's an amazing artist, but it just takes so much time.
Yeah.
And it's so much work. And we live in a society where it's like everyone wants the quickest turnaround time. Social media wants you just posting. So it's that like, hey, how do we make something that is visually appealing, but isn't like, you know, he's not breaking his back. So like, I think WorldCo is absolutely that. There's some other work, obviously, we're really proud of on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, because animation is so time consuming. I guess you gotta just work on like a back catalog and then pull from that. But what's kind of your workflow for that? Do you guys come up with a script first, or like an idea, and then kind of work your way into the animation and then do the voice acting, or like what's kind of the order of things in that world? Because to me, it would seem like you have to really have it all planned out, because if you're going to animate it, it's got to be like to a T, like to a script, you know?
We tend to have a pretty structured approach, especially when it's like some of the series we've been pitching, or if it's long form, which means you're absolutely right. Like we write a script and, we come over to my place and we record. Sometimes there is like riffing, like we'll be improvising. When we do shorts, did you get a chance to see a short we had? I think it's more on our social media, Turkey Time.
Yes, hello?
Your cat is sneaking into my house uninvited and eating my turkey.
I don't think Biggie would do that. I don't think my cat Biggie, whose name's Biggie, would do that. I don't think so.
I cook a turkey every night because I need the turkey to help me go to sleep so that I can wake up in the morning and have enough rest and energy to make another turkey.
You wouldn't do that, would you, Biggie? No, Biggie says no. Biggie wouldn't do that. No, Biggie wouldn't. No.
Oh, so you don't believe me? Well, I caught her on camera, on my Ring camera, eating my turkey. Little Missy Pie. Little Missy Poo Pie.
That's not Biggie. That's just you in a Biggie costume. You can't trick me. I know that's just you in a Biggie costume. It's obvious. It's so obvious.
Or is it? Meow. It's me, Biggie. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Oh, yay, Biggie. Oh, it's Biggie. Biggie, you're so cute in your Karen costume. You're so funny, Biggie. But wait, if you're Biggie, then who's this?
I knew it. I knew you were eating my turkey, Biggie. I knew it. I caught you. My sting operation worked. I knew it was you, Biggie. I knew it was you eating my turkey this whole time.
You think you're so smart.
Well, you know nothing.
Oh, they're turkeys. They're all turkeys. Oh, my God. The postman is a turkey. Elaine, you telling me that doctor's a turkey, too? God, and it's a turkey giving birth to a turkey baby getting basted with a... Turkeys buying and selling sides. You know what? I actually understand this one. I think this one makes a bit more sense here. They are all turkeys. I get that. Okay. Oh my God! Look out for that turkey driver, Mr. Turkey Stockbroker, man!
So that's a short. Our shorts are more like that, especially that are more unhinged. They're kind of more like rants. Like there's not always like a script. A lot of it is like we have an idea we've been working on, or I have an idea, or he has an idea. I'll just riff on it, or he and I will riff back and forth. Like there was actually a character that I did for I auditioned for SNL earlier this year, and there's a character I did called Sleazy Steve. That's kind of like this guy selling a knife that ends up like turning into him talking about where he ends up like killing his like wife with like the knifey knife kind of thing. And something I just riffed on. Like we talked about it, we laid down a foundation, but I just riffed for like a minute and a half. We'll sometimes take those and do a shorter animation. But to get more like the technical side, you try to, for him, he'll storyboard, he'll do like rough cuts to figure out what's happening. But he takes the audio that we've done, whether it's me ranting or something he recorded or something we did together on a script, he chops it up to get the exact like timing, pacing, sometimes that specific comedic element.
Yeah.
And then he goes in and then manually essentially like, animates the characters. So I know that he like rigs them up in the current software he uses. And that's where it's like, I think what you got at the technical side of like the lip syncing. Yeah. Of like, how do you get this to match the performance? Because I think sometimes people think, oh, are the actors going in? Are they like mimicking, the animation? But it's always, you take that audio, you cut it up, and then you build the final. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the most tedious part too, is like just the lip syncing. Something Mike's really good at is like expressions, is capturing what you see in someone's eyes. What we think of more as traditional acting, that again, I'm not even thinking about when I'm voicing something, but he does such a good job of bringing someone to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sleazy Steve, and I have a deal of a lifetime up my sleeve. It's called the knifey knife. Are you tired of regular, dull, unsharp knives that can't cut through things like tin cans? Well, the knifey knife can cut through a tin can. It can even cut through another knife inside of a tin can. Have you ever wanted to cut a submarine? I don't mean the sandwich. I mean real-life submarine. Well, you can do that with a knifey knife. It's easy. Have you ever, when you walked over your neighbor's house and be like, why you got a metal gate? keep me out from walking for your lawn and seeing inside your bedroom window, or you cut through those bars and go inside, and then you come in and you see, oh, they lock your door because you got a very inconsiderate neighbor who maybe might be having an affair with your wife, but you don't know because you got to go inside and see what's happening. So you cut off the door handle, and then you start walking inside, and you start hearing these sounds, you start hearing like, and you're like, wait, I think it's my wife. So I gotta go upstairs, and you see, oh, if you ever wanted to see if you're not gonna cut through your neighbor and your wife, well, you can do that with a knife. And then if you think maybe the police are coming, you can walk down the stairs. You see your neighbor's car, which is much bigger and nicer, better than yours, because your neighbor's more successful. So you cut through that door, and you get inside the car, and you can start it with the ignition when you put it inside with the knife. And you can start driving, and then the police come in. Well, you can't stop bullets, but if you throw this thing up in the air, it'll give them, it goes to the police helicopter, and then the road is all fall off, and the helicopter comes down, but eventually they will get you, but you can get out of jail with the knife. However, you do need to get the attachment called the cakey cake, and you can hide the knife inside the cakey cake. So if you ever wonder if you're in jail, and you can cut out of the jail cell with the knife. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 easy payments of $9.95 for the knife.
Yeah, the eyes. I was watching one with the zooms and everything are like the zooming in and then zooming out. It's like perfectly timed to like what you're saying and the comedic beat as well, which I was really impressed with, because people forget about that stuff. You can write something and animate to it, but you have to add all that extra life to it. Like the eye movements and where they're looking at the time they say something. Like that's all like afterthought when you're doing animation, as in when you're acting it, you do it while you're doing it, and it, for an actor, it should come naturally to do it that way. But that's so interesting to me because I've loved cartoons since I was a kid,
What were some of your favorite shows?
And I mean, starting with, your basic like Looney Tunes stuff. I mean, me and my buddy after school every day in elementary school, we'd go to his house. We would, make iced tea and eat like goldfish crackers, and we would watch Looney Tunes after school. And
it sounds like a more adult version. I feel like the kid version is you have Kool-Aid, but the iced tea sounds like you were elevated,
We loved iced tea. Oh man, it was awesome. His mom would make like a big jar of it. It was so delicious. But he knew every single word to every single Looney Tunes. And you know how many like Looney Tunes cartoons there are. It doesn't matter.
Endless catalog.
It doesn't matter which one was on. He knew what was going to happen, what the words were, even like the little music pieces. Like he would go like he just knew it. And to me, I was like, how does this kid? And I loved cartoons too, but I don't know how. I don't know where he found the time to watch them so many times to know.
Yeah, because you couldn't replay. You that kid's got to have an incredible memory. I mean, there's actors I know that I'll work with that they do like just pick up stuff. Like some people, I think there is that like I'm gonna watch and like regurgitate this performance. Like I sometimes might have like a voice of a character or like a couple lines, but yeah, I don't know. I always impresses me.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then growing up, and then after that, I mean, Looney Tunes was a big influence, and I think mostly because I was a musician, so I loved the music, and I loved how. And I always wondered this too. I mean, I found out when I was older, but I always wondered this too, as if they did the animation to the music, because it always matched up so perfectly. The music was such a big part of those cartoons. But I found out that they would actually play the music live to the cartoon after the fact, and that was even more impressive to me. But so I love the musical element. And then, I grew up with him. His name was John. And, as we grew older, we got our own apartment together. And then around like 2001, it was Adult Swim.
Yeah.
When Adult Swim came out, that shit was on every single night in our house, like all night. Like even if we went to bed, we would just leave it on, and we would all wake up for work with like whatever was left over from Toonami, like Inuyasha or something, and we loved it. We watched that the whole duration until we all moved out. Like I don't know, there was always like 3 or 4 guys living there at one point, but Adult Swim every night when it came on, we'd watch the reruns, Family Guy, and then we'd get into the good Adult Swim stuff, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, C-Lab 2021. All that stuff was huge for me and made a huge impact on just my sense of humor, the comedy that I like now, and the absurdity of some of it. I just loved when it would get, trippy and weird, and you never knew what to expect. So I think that was my favorite part of cartoons. Is you just never know, and you can do anything in those worlds. Ren and Stimpy too. Before that, all that stuff.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy was hugely influential. What's interesting is you had like some of those classical cartoon elements that you talked about with Looney Tunes, in the sense that like Ren and Stimpy had a lot of that exaggerated style animation, but also like the scoring of it had that classical element, which you don't really see anymore. And to your point, like that music, everything was so thoughtful in Looney Tunes, and then for the kind of more modern in the 90s cartoons that drew upon that, they carry those elements over in a way that is just, again, like so powerful and just so interesting. Like orchestral music is so lush and is so deep that it can convey so much. And but then, hey, let's talk on the flip side. Aqua Teen is like just a completely different planet. Like when I first saw that show, it like changed my brain chemistry, because I never seen anything like it. Still, it's still so groundbreaking in so many ways that I don't know what really is out there. Other than, have you seen Smiling Friends?
Yeah, that was my first foray back into the Adult Swim lineup, because I had kind of abandoned it for a while, because a lot of it was just repeats, and a lot of it wasn't. Yeah, it kind of fell off for a little while.
It's not as experimental. This is, I think, their attempt at a resurgence.
Yeah, and my stepdaughter, she's 28, and she was like, "Have you seen Smiley Friends?" I'm like, "No, what's that?" She's like, "Oh, it's on Adult Swim." I was like, "Okay, yeah." I kind of dismissed it, but then like one day at lunch, I was on like HBO Max or whatever, and I put it on at lunch, and I was like, "This is insane. This is so good." I was like, "This is how I remember old Adult Swim. Just, you never know what to expect. Completely absurd." And I like how someone pointed out that it has a lot of like YouTube humor in it, but it's not really like YouTube humor. They toe a line. It's absolutely genius, in my opinion. I think it's so funny. I actually saw a clip, like a meme going around with them, and I'm like, people who put this meme out probably have never even seen the show, but it's so relatable to so many people in so many different ways, just the things that those characters go through, and I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, the point too that you're getting at why it has that YouTube element is I think his name is like Mark M. I don't remember exactly. There's a few guys that voice and are involved in the show that are like prominent YouTube animators that have their own kind of like absurdist style humors. So that show is like an opportunity, because I think the creator, one of the guys behind it too, is this guy that did this like parody, this like Australian Rick and Morty or something. Did you ever see that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he's one of the people that's behind that show. So it does have like kind of like an all-star cast of animators and like, writers that got their audiences, kind of got their reach on, YouTube over the last 10 years, and it finally coalesced in a way that like gave them a chance to like combine their forces and make that show.
Yeah, that's smart for Adult Swim too, because I think they saw that they didn't quite have the current generation of like 20-somethings, and the 20-somethings now probably grew up mostly with YouTube animation. So I could see their strategy behind that. That's pretty smart of them.
Yeah.
But they definitely need more shows like that, at least to get me watching again. But, I'm glad it's all on HBO Max now, because before the only way to watch that stuff was to go through the Adult Swim app, through streaming, link it up with your like cable provider if you even still had one.
Yeah.
And then like,
dude, the streaming apps are like, it's still, and they keep moving it around. They keep renaming it. I'm Protest. My wife and I, on one of our devices, I think it's her Apple TV, we still have the old HBO app up there. And what's so crazy is you click it and it's like, you can't use this anymore. You got to go download this. And I'm like, you guys could probably have it like still just work and point to the other one, but it's like part of their David Zaslav's rebrand. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
But it's like the industry is in such a weird place. But it's to be positive. It's inspiring that they finally, pulled the trigger on a show like this. And partially why it's so successful, you inadvertently made the point, whether you knew it or not, is the internet actually like really asked for this show. I think that they made a pilot, or they produced something, or it might have been on Smalls. That's where we've been pitching a few shows right now. It's like their incubator. They made, I think, that initial pilot or some clips or something. And the internet was like, we want more of this. All of those creators' fan bases and just like the wackiness of the web also kind of came together and were like, this is what we want.
Yeah.
So, and it validated, and they had their second season, I think, go earlier this year. So sometimes when you follow what the internet asks for, you get like a show that is a Vine star that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think they were right, because these weren't like super huge known names outside of the animated space.
Yeah.
But they were people that had tried and true content. And again, what's interesting is if you watch the show, you can see little bits of influences from some of the creators that I've been referencing, but it's a whole new thing too, which is awesome. They're not rehashing an idea. It's not a reboot.
Right.
It's not let's just take this thing. It's, hey, we have a whole new idea. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, watching that, I'm like, where did they come up with this? So
Yeah,
like for you, where does that inspiration come from when you're doing like a Loserville like animation? Do you actually sit down and have writing sessions, or does an idea, like a wacky idea, just come to you and then you write it out? Like, where do you find your inspiration for your shorts and stuff?
Yeah, so it really depends. So to talk about like that our most recent short that we actually released like a year ago, but we just kind of re-released now because it's Thanksgiving related. It was literally just like a wild idea I had about this lady. It was kind of like a Karen type. So it was like inspired from like a Karen type situation of like someone's cat eating stuff. I don't want to ruin too much because I want you to be able to watch it, because it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. But it's basically take a grounded idea, take a basic conflict, take an issue of someone coming up like, hey, like, I saw this on my Zoom, and someone like, no, you didn't. And then this like back and forth where it almost in like Scooby-Doo style, someone takes off the mask and they're like, oh, is this person? But then that mask takes off another mask,
Yeah.
So we've like a Scooby-Doo Russian doll style joke inside of a what's happening. But the base idea for a lot of what we do is just take something funny, take a weird observation you had, take conflict and blow it out and then run with it and just keep saying yes. And when you do that, you start going to, that's how you get to those crazy places you're talking about, because you're kind of letting your animation go. It's like when you're jamming, right? Like you as a musician, probably some of your best writing is just in the moment where you're like, how did that come to me? Right? It's the same thing for writing. If you can sit and be like, I want to build out this incredible world and these grand ideas, but it's almost too big. It's a lot of times just take something really simple. Now we do have cartoons that we've been very strategic about. Like there's scripts Mike Goroff will come about, or ideas that he'll want to work on, or something where I'll like, hey, I've always wanted to explore this character. Like we have a cartoon called Dynamite Joe. We were working on a rework of it called like Discovery Joe, which is just about this guy who's almost like a very inept Indiana Jones type character.
I think I saw your reel for that, the audition for that. You did that for
SNL
too?
Yeah, it's another character, because it's someone we've worked on and I know so well. I can do him forever. But even that little like monologue I did, it's a segment from one of our earlier cartoons, but it's a character it's resonated with me so much, and Mike as well. But that was something he'd always thought of, because he loves Indiana Jones. I mean, I do as well.
Yeah. But
that was actually the first cartoon we ever worked on together, and it was a script that he brought. But everything always starts with a simple idea, It's like, hey, this is like something I really love that I want to explore, or this is just something that I saw today to happen. Let's like riff on it. So yeah, it's either like basic script idea that we refine, something funny that happened that we riff on. Those are like the catalysts, right? Like those are those things. Just like for you, when you sit down and start writing a song or jamming, it's something that moves you, and then you let it grow, you let it build, you let it move you further, and then the bigger idea starts coming.
Yeah, I like that just organic growth from, especially when you have a collaborator, you just bounce off of each other, and if you find the right person, it's just magic when it starts coming out. So
yeah, well, and I forgot to mention the other part. A lot of times too is like us just trying to get each other to laugh. That's how we know we're probably onto something, is like I'll be just saying off the wall stuff, and then it's like I'll kind of start just getting him to laugh, or he'll, say something really funny to me or come with an idea. And that's, again, kind of that bouncing board. And the most fun, too, is when we know some of these characters and we can kind of riff back and forth with each other. And, again, it just grows. But it's like what you just addressed with, like, music. If you can jam with someone, you can play with someone, it's like you're communicating in this certain way, and you hit that groove and this is working. This is it. Because, like, two people are feeling it. It's like that connection.
Yeah, so you mentioned two things you were working on. A Thanksgiving one, right? That's up already?
Yeah.
What's that one called?
So it's called Turkey Time. I say Thanksgiving in the sense that turkeys are involved. It has nothing to do with Thanksgiving, but it's a lot to do with turkeys. Yeah.
All right, Turkey Time, and then you're working on World Co., right? That's not officially out anywhere yet. You're pitching that?
Yeah, so we have... you got to review some of our work. None of that's public. We are probably going to do like a public release and kind of rework the pilot that we have and eventually air that and submit that to festivals. There's a few other shows that are kind of in the works as well. One's called Hey Babe, and it's about these, it's almost just take two dumb Americans, two selfish dumb Americans that allow us to kind of like explore and be vessels for all the things that make us laugh, make us angry, and like affect us. And they're actually inspired from, or not so much inspired, but they're drawn from a short called Doodle Pops. And that's something that should be airing in the Spike and Mike Festival. And that's a short that gives you an idea of these two characters. It's another project that we're currently working on. And then we have something else that's in the works, but there's no, I don't have any clips or anything of it because we haven't gotten to the animating phase, but it's called Summon This. And it's basically, take an influencer who is into the occult, who inadvertently summons a goat. And he thinks, hey, this is going to be this really cool demonic goat that's like going to be my guy, going to be my little so to speak. But what it ends up being is, the goat doesn't like him either. He's this like kind of nerd loser guy. And I haven't thought about this pitch in a while because we've been so hyper-focused on these other pilots. So I'm not going to do the best job of selling that show to you right now or your audience. But we have a lot of really cool projects that we're kind of like refining in addition to our back catalog.
Okay.
But it's our focus right now is like, we're just trying to get something sold. We're trying to get more exposure on like the business side. And, taking those next steps.
Yeah, how does that work? Because we're in LA, and like I know the actors' plight here, but what is it like for animators here and voiceover actors? Is the process different for submitting? Because you mentioned some animation festivals. Are there a lot of those? Are there not enough of them? And then who from the industry goes to those or attends those?
It's the name of the game is exposure, right? There are like little festivals, like indie festivals like this, like Spike and Mike one as an example. So it's really just getting your name in front of people. I wish it was like, hey, I could go climb over the fence to like someone's house and like give them a script. Yeah. Because you hear those stories about like Steven Spielberg and stuff, but it's really like you have to go through all these channels and just getting someone's attention. So festival circuits that are animated oriented are like number one. Social media is like a component, but I think it's so saturated and it's so algorithm driven that you have to write something that is catered to AI, which doesn't necessarily mean it's good. It just means it captures someone's attention. But that's an avenue, and I don't want to dismiss it too much because Mike Goroff had done some podcast animations years ago that got us attention to one of our partners who we're working with, who's a well-known actor in Adult Swim.
Last podcast on the left, right? Those ones?
So
those were really good.
So,
and I love that show. I just recently started listening to them.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
that's sweet.
Yeah, someone recommended that show to me a while ago, and I never really thought it was up my alley, but then I gave it a listen, and I was like, these guys are fucking hysterical. And then I saw the connection on your YouTube where you did some shorts, and that's one of my favorite things is when people do animated shorts for, just random conversations, either for podcasting or I think the first time I saw it was like someone animated it to like Rogan's podcast, and I don't really listen to Rogan, but I thought the animated shorts were like really funny, and I was like, oh, that's great. And then I saw that last podcast on the left, the animations you guys did.
This is the last podcast on the left.
Well, in order to solidify his title of Magus, Crowley went on a magical retirement to New Hampshire. There, he caught a frog, presented it with gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and baptized it with the name Jesus before releasing it.
Oh, you're so cute, little Jesus. How I love you. Oh, go in there and lily pad. Hang out over there.
Then, throughout the day, Crowley followed the frog around on his frog business. Then, that night, Crowley captured the frog again and addressed it as if he was talking to Jesus Christ himself.
Oh, Jesus of Nazareth, how thou art taken in my snare. Oh, my life thou hast plagued me and affronted me. You're such a cute little belly. In thy name, with all the other free souls in Christendom. Oh, your little feet. I wish I didn't have to do this.
Next.
Oh, I love your little feet and little eyes.
Next, Crowley condemned the Jesus frog to death.
Execution for you.
What did the frog do?
And he crucified it.
Crucify him.
He took a little spear of destiny and poked it in his side.
I wish I didn't have to do this to you, little guy.
You don't have to.
He's Jesus now.
Oh my.
And once the Jesus frog was dead, Crowley ate the legs to incorporate it into his being and burned the remains to symbolically consume the old eon in fire.
He's just fat.
Well, hey, another wacky Wednesday.
Well, yeah, what was that connection? Because I only recently realized that Henry Zebrowski was the guy from Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. And when I made that connection, I was like, no fucking way. Because that was another crazy show that was on Adult Swim. And I was like, what is this show? You know? And I love those shows that make me go like, what is this? Then I was literally walking my dogs and I'm like, oh my God, that's that guy. But
yeah, so I didn't know the podcast either. Mike Goroff started telling me about it one day. I was like, hey, I think I want to like animate some clips, and it's like 2018. This is years ago. You know, he animated an episode or like a little clip, and I was like, oh, this is actually really funny. And the thing to his brilliance too, though, is like he knew what the right moment to pick. You know, like he picked like a really funny spot, and then he, through his like imagination, brought it to life in a way that like added so much layers to like all the guys on the podcast and what they bring. So it blew up to like a few, like we've done it. Well, I shouldn't say I have almost nothing to do with that, with the podcast stuff. But he you know, did a few animations and like they went viral, and like we eventually got the attention of Henry, and then that show Whirlpool, like Henry's in it, and a few other people that are in his orbit. So that's where like social media can help you, right? I know I made it sound like, hey, like I don't think it helps that much, but if you have a plan, if it's very specific, that's where it can help. Because like Henry started watching our stuff, their channel started watching our stuff, they started reposting it, and then one day, and this is like now it's like 3 or 4 years ago, he DM'd us and was like, hey, like, what do you guys pitch me something? And then we pitched him, and then like, you know, we've had countless actually meetings just like this, like Zoom meetings with him about like different things we're working on, and it coalesced into World Code because it's in that alien extraterrestrial out there space that, you know, we're really into and he's really into.
Yeah.
And it was just like kind of that perfect thing, but it's something we'd already been working on. That was the beauty, because sometimes people fall in that trap of like, hey, well, what do you want to make? You know, what are your thoughts? But for us, it was like, I started to listen to the podcast thanks to Mike Goroff. I started getting a vibe for Henry. Goroff already did. But we had an understanding of like, this is like what he does. Yeah. This is like what his strengths are. So we were able to like write these characters. And then like, do you know his sister Jackie or like Holden or any of those people?
Yeah, I've heard Jackie on the show a couple times, but I don't know about Holden, no.
Yeah, so Holden's not on as much. Holden McNeely, he's on some of their other podcasts. But like, we started like thinking, hey, like these are people in your orbit that also be great characters, that they have great charisma.
Yeah,
and like,
voices. You know, Jackie's voice is unmistakable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's that's what you have to think about as a creator, right?
Yeah.
Like I would love to voice as many of our characters as possible, but I have limitations, and I'm not as nowhere near as well known as Henry, right?
Yeah.
So for us, trying to like find people right to their strengths was a big part of like what World Code was. But we've done a few cartoons in the past where we've worked with people we know in the comedy scene. We had something we released in 2020 called Finger Guns that has a lot of like more local LA comedians, but some of them have like some credits. Some of them have done some really cool stuff. But working with Henry and pitching the shows and having those warm introductions to Adult Swim, that's been our most exciting thing so far.
So it's basically
Yeah.
the same as, acting in LA. It's who you know. So it's making
Yeah, I mean, it
those
sucks.
connections.
That's what it is. It's not how talented you are. It's not how hard you work. It's not how smart you are. It's who you know.
It's making those
But
connections.
all those things I just mentioned, how smart you are, how talented you are, all those little things, you can use those tools to find and connect with those people. We had a plan. Like, we thought Henry could be a cool person to work with. That was the idea of animating it, right? Was like getting their attention. And it worked. It did take like 3 or 4 episodes or 3 or 4 like clips over a year or two. But again, that's the long-term game of this industry, man. I mean, you know it. You've been out here in LA. People think you can just come out here and like, even if you book a big role, it might be years before you get that opportunity again, completely outside of your control, just because of projects. Like, we were supposed to be pitching Adult Swim years ago, but the writer strikes happened. And we had things in the books that were happening, and then COVID happened. So it's like there's so many weird little things that happen. You just got to stick to it. Not to turn into like inspirational, whatever. But like, to be successful in this industry, something I think just as a creative, you have to like be just always creating, always moving forward, and just always believing in yourself. And it takes a bit of delusion, I feel like, sometimes to get there, to be like, hey, this is going to work. Like, hey, these crazy voices, my wife hears me screaming all the time. Something's going to happen. We have to have that, like, wild confidence in ourselves, but a plan to make that be seen in some way is, I think, the piece where it's like, okay, now we're grounded. Now we're being logical. Like, there's a plan to this chaos, a method to the madness,
Yeah, I think you kind of answered my next question too, was how do you keep going in, the face of like rejection and I know all of these processes take such a long time and so many Zoom conversations and so many, so many rewrites and
I had Eric Andre call me cringe. I had Eric Andre once like shoot us down in a pitch meeting in Adult Swim, and I'm like, you're the king of cringe. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it's endless. I could tell you so many stories of just. Yeah, I do think though, I don't know what the right word is. If it's being slightly delusional, that's all I can think, because like, you're right. We've been doing this for so long, and in the last few years, we've never been closer than ever to like actually like having a show or being there. But that's, I think, sometimes the hardest is it's like, you grab that lottery ticket and you have one number that's off. You're like, oh my God, if it was this other number, I would have won $10 million. So it's like we've had multiple times where we are so close, like we are like we met with their VP of development. We didn't just meet like earlier this year. We didn't just meet with like an assistant, or like we met with like the guy that can do the thing.
Yeah.
But we have now are meeting these other guys, and there's all these other issues. And that network, Adult Swim and their parent company, are also going through like all this turbulence. Like, the industry is just going through so much turbulence right now because of AI, because of like the losses they're having with streaming. So you kind of have to, I can't think of any other word than delusional.
Yeah.
You kind of have to just be like, I'm going to figure something out, but you kind of got to just block out the noise and like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because we like doing this, like we have other ways that we're supporting ourselves, obviously, but like we like doing it, and I think
it's vital. It's vital for our being to survive. We have to do it. And a lot of people, I think, don't understand this, and this is the main reason why I do this podcast, is because I want people to understand that, like, when you're a creative person, you have to do something. And that's why I started this podcast, because I wanted to talk to other people who just have it in their blood and just need to do it to survive. And if this podcast takes off, cool. If not, cool. I told myself when I started it that I'm going to do it for fun, for my own personal education, my own gain, and I'm learning a new skill. I learn something new every day. I'm meeting really cool people and having great conversations. And if something happens with it, cool. And you mentioned also earlier that the algorithms on social media, that was the biggest thing that I didn't want to have to deal with this, because I know when you have something that you want people to see, you got to promote it, right? And
yeah,
I'm just starting to learn how to ride that algorithm wave a little bit, and to try and and I'm still learning. It's going to be an ongoing battle because obviously it changes all the time. But for me, I used to look at it as like a challenge or something, like, oh, I don't want to freaking do this. I don't want to put out reels every day. Like, this is so annoying. But I found a good workflow, and I found a good way of enjoying it that I don't stress too much about too. Because you still have to have fun. If you're not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it though. It's this is for everyone listening. This is the key to success. It's two things. It's sticking to something.
Yep.
It needs to be something you love, like you said, but you have to stick to it. And to blow it out a bit more, by sticking to something, it means open to change, open to growth, open to learn. It doesn't mean you can do the same thing. It doesn't mean you can never make any tweaks to your podcast or change how you interview. I mean, I think it's amazing that, you're asking me you did all these research questions, you cared about this, right? Like, you're looking into things. You're not just winging it, right?
Yeah.
But one piece is, hey, if you are doing something that you really love and you want it to become something, it is sticking to it and then be open to growth, change, refinement, improvement, right? Like, that's been the key piece of our animation. I learned how to score at a level that I've now scored short films, and I could feel confident doing things professionally. We're talking about 10 years of this, right? But the other pieces, and this is, I think, the hardest part, and you kind of talked about this, Garrett, with when you're talking about social media and making clips, it's the business piece.
Yeah.
It's the marketing piece. It's the not fun piece. It's the okay, how do I make money from this? Or how do I get someone to respect this in a different way?
Yeah.
And that's I think our biggest challenge always, because Mike Gorf especially, he's always had more of a DIY punk rock, his original vision, and I get this, his original vision for our cartoons was well, you talked about at the beginning, you being 13 years old, logging into your parents' computer, going up and finding some crazy clip and sharing it with your friends. That's what going viral was. Going viral was you found something weird on the internet, or funny or silly or just crazy, and you shared it with people. You'd have your neighbor watch it, or you would email it. There'd be chain emails, or you eventually would text it. So that was always his principle. And I hope that there's some elements of that with social media algorithms, whatever. It's such a weird, confusing game now that we need to, especially for us, we need to understand the business piece. And when I say us, I mean you. I mean, it's how do you do those clips without burning yourself out? How do you find that way to promote your stuff without feeling like you are making it a job, or at least a job you don't want, Because the mantle I've kind of taken up in the last year or so is trying to just network, trying to lean on all of my contacts in the industry, trying to take everything we've learned, because I used to have sales jobs years ago. When I first moved out here, I had a regular B2B sales job, and when I was younger I had door-to-door sales jobs. And what selling is just connecting with people. It's just understanding how you can help someone and solving a problem. So I've been trying to learn how to take that approach to our work and network and connect with people. Again, it sucks though, because it's I'd rather just be making stuff, man, or I'd rather be talking to you or just hanging out with people. But yeah, the two things in this industry, and I think any creative pursuit, just to restate, it's you have to stick to what you do and be open to growth, and then you do have to find a way to tackle the business side, And if that means you have a Patreon and people give you 25 cents a month or something, if you can make a penny from something, you can make $1, you can make $100, right? But it's just testing that out, and being open to it. Because I think people are afraid sometimes to charge for their art. There's this weird thing with artists where we feel uncomfortable asking our friends for something, But then it's also like our friends feel uncomfortable supporting us sometimes. They'd rather go give, $200 to go buy tickets for a Drake concert. I mean, I don't have any friends that watch Drake, but I feel like that's like someone that's like really expensive.
Yeah.
But it's weird that people have no shame to give hundreds of dollars to someone that would not care about you the least. But like there is this reservation of like, well, I don't want to like give my friend $5 to go to their stand-up show. Like that should be free, or like, you know what I mean? Like that's like the weird thing. But I think you should do my Patreon model. Start like real small, like 25 cents a month.
Yeah.
People won't think anything of it, and then you start slowly upping the amount. Something to get you paid.
Yeah, I was thinking I've had that on the back burner for a while. I just want to come up with some content that I can, give to people who are paying for like that back door. So, it's definitely in the works. But for you, how do you maintain, keeping creative?
My sanity.
Your sanity, keeping creative and doing your creative things all while not having like sold anything yet. Like what do you do in the meantime? Do you make residuals off stuff? Do you have you acted in anything?
I mean, I act. I book work. It doesn't pay the bills the primary way. And I don't know if this was intentional or you gave me like the best setup of all time. I help run a company. It's actually this isn't a publicly known fact, but I'll put it out there because if someone cares enough to watch this whole thing, they deserve to know. My wife and I run a business together that's essentially a virtual acting school, but it's also a like whole like development program. So I have the knowledge of someone who's been on TV, who's been in film, who's acted. I'm not, again, recognizable in the least. I won't say that, but I've gotten far enough in this industry just as an actor that I have a very good understanding of how it works.
Yeah.
But I also have the fortunate circumstances to be someone that's pitched shows. We have sold some content in the past. It's a smaller networks. Like we've gotten paid for some things. We've done some stuff, but I've also gotten in those bigger rooms too. But where I'm going with this is with our company, the Talent Spot, I have the benefit of being like, hey, I know basically every facet of this industry. And when it comes to someone getting started, I got started at Cleveland, Ohio. I booked my first theater, TV, and film roles there. I knew nothing. I randomly stumbled into an acting school and learned everything the hard way. Same with when I moved out to LA.
Yeah.
So I can tell someone everything you need to do. Now, will they do it? That's another story. But at the Talent Spot, we try to help people put that plan together where it's like, learning everything I did the wrong way, the right way, giving someone all those industry standard tools, but we also train them. We teach people how to actually act, how to approach their work. But something we do that you will not find in LA, you won't find really anywhere, is we have a huge like Rolodex of industry contacts, and we give our the talent that we work with the chance to perform for them. That's really all mostly thanks to my wife. She's been in kind of behind the scenes in this industry for like over 10 years. So she knows like very successful agents. She knows very successful managers, and she doesn't just know them. Like she's friends with them. And these are like serious, great, close relationships where like we really know these people and we can talk to them. And that's the kind of relationship we try to foster with like the actors that we work with and we train. But we've helped people get signed. We've worked with people who've gone on to book national commercials, that have been in movies, that have been in TV shows. And it's all thanks to us showing people really how this industry works, being very real with them, but supportive. But then also like, thanks to my wife, now I can call these people my friends and contacts too. But like, thanks to these people that really believe in us and understand how much we care, they come and attend events that we hold where they watch, our talent, and, sometimes they go on to sign them. So that is how I predominantly pay the bills, is, training and developing actors. I think that was the question.
Yeah, that's great.
Ask, but
yeah, I got two answers out of that. So the Talent Spot, where can they find that information?
Yeah, so it's our website, just the talentspot.org. But so like, just as you can tell, like I'm really passionate about animation, about comedy. Like I also just like connecting and helping people. My wife and I, we really love what we do because we're able to help people. Like we're able to like kind of like pull back the curtain of what this industry is really like. Because if you're someone like me, if you're from Ohio, if you have no connections to the industry, it just seems impossible. And then everyone will just tell you it's impossible. or they'll just tell you horrible things, or a lot of it's just people are afraid. They're afraid of like putting themselves out. They're afraid of following their dreams. But to actually be able to show someone, hey, you can do this. It takes time. It takes work. It takes a plan. It literally takes everything we talked about earlier. If you want to be an actor, it's like what we talked about with your podcast. You have to stick to it, and you'll learn. You'll learn on the fly. I've had some opportunities that I've messed up. I've had some opportunities I've blown out the door, and you have to learn from them. What happens is people, they make that first mistake. They mess up whatever, and then they just give up. But that's that chance to learn, like my partner, Michael Grepp, and I, like, we've learned so much in these years of making content and pitching, and me getting roasted by Eric Andre. Like, yeah, sometimes it sucks. Like getting no's sucks. Getting the king of cringe calling you cringe is an insult. That sucks.
I can't believe that.
But yeah, no, I mean, dude, I've met him. I've met a lot of people. I don't want to name drop at all. But like, he's probably one of the only people that I was like, I mean, I don't know. He might be kind of a dick. He might kind of actually be that ass you see in the show. I don't know if
he gives that aura, and it's like, okay, Eric Andre, what do you want me to do? Take off my shirt and jump through the desk right now? What would you like me to do to impress you?
This is the thing. A lot of what I've heard, I've had multiple firsthand experiences with him, but these things I'm about to say I've heard third hand. I don't think he likes to get messed with in the way that he messes with other people. And I will say that to me kind of like kicks you out of the ballpark, out of the respect zone. Because like, I don't mind getting messed with to a certain point. I don't want to get tasered. I don't want to get someone to dump like a bucket of pee on me, or like whatever kind of junk he might do or pretend to do on the show. But I don't think you could Google it. There's actually a famous story about like him getting messed with the Johnny Knoxville. There's some behind the scenes stuff with him and the Jackass people that if you read those stories, you're like, oh, he doesn't like to take it as much as he can dish it, And for me, like, if my friends want to mess with me, like prank me, play jokes on me, or like if I'm at a comedy club and I'm getting roasted, like by the audience, or literally the other day I was doing a mic and I was wearing my cowboy hat, and I just know that opens the door, and I'm like, hey, bring it on. I'm asking for it. But if you want to like mess with people but you can't take it, I think that says something about you. And I don't know if Eric Andres is as cool of a guy as people might think, but whatever. This is your show, so that's all that matters. You're a cool guy,
Thanks, man. Thanks. I've always been intrigued by him. Like I liked his show. I liked how he took the talk show format and kind of flipped it on its head and just made it completely absurd. And he's gone on to do other things. He was absolutely great in what was that show on HBO?
Righteous Gemstones?
Yeah, Righteous Gemstones. He was great on that. But yeah, him as a person, I don't know him. And, I don't like to talk shit about people, but I've read a few interviews and it seems like he's completely opposite from what he actually portrays through his character. But anyway, I mean, sometimes.
But it bums you out, like someone
what do they
who's
say?
kind
Never meet your heroes or whatever, like never, stuff like that. So
yeah,
it does bum you out and especially if you're the type of person that dishes it out and can't take it. You can't dish stuff out like that to people and not be able to take it. And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I've gotten to work with Billy Bob Thornton. He plays kind of a wacky, weird, out there guy at times. At least from my experiences, and I've spent a lot of time with him, he's ultra cool. I can say like Adam Sandler is a really cool guy. I mean, there are so many just great people in this industry. I mean, I know for a fact, and you see it in his films, Adam Sandler goes out of his way to put his friends in his movies. I'm pretty convinced that like he literally, all those like crazy, silly, like kind of more like mom and pop, like kid films that I think he makes now. I think he's literally like, hey, I just want to make a movie that I can sit down and watch with my kids and put my friends in it. You know,
a lot of the actors are doing that now. They do it just so they can.
Yeah, but I don't. If that's your intention, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, listen, if Adam Sandler wants to like hire his buddies and put him in a movie and put it out there, I think that's great. I think the more you can support people and just like do your thing and be honest with it, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. Billy Bob Thornton, I just seen, he's doing a movie with the Trailer Park Boys. Like, the Trailer Park Boys, right?
Oh, wow. I could see that being a really interesting movie.
Yeah, dude, it's literally like the Trailer Park Boys and Billy Bob Thornton. I was like, what? And then Adam Sandler, I mean, going back to, like, they're all going to laugh at you. Like, that fucking album was Me and my friends listened to that album
Oh, yeah,
on
dude.
repeat, like nonstop, and it was just him and his friends just doing silly sketches
Yeah.
in the studio, and I thought it was genius, and I've always tried to incorporate all my friends and stuff like that. But yeah, I love that he's able to do that for him and his friends. So, and they've all gone off to do like amazing things too. So
Yeah. I mean, that's something, again, I think my girlfriend and I enjoy so much about what we can do is like, we're professionals. Like we hold each other accountable. Like it's not like we're just hanging out, like playing video games and making cartoons or something. Like we do play video games together. Like we'll have like a beer together or something, but we have deadlines, we hold ourselves accountable to our work. And I wish that was something that was more easy for the whole world to be able to do and make a living, where like you should be able to be a creative or have a small business or something where it is like you kind of giving a gift or a talent or a skill and doing that with people that you care about. I think like capitalism makes it where it's like everything has to be about money. And of course, like we all need to make a living, but we shouldn't have to be thinking, how do I get paid for this? And how do I literally make money for the sake of it? That's like the creative's dilemma.
yeah, there's it, and it's kind of funny too how on the side you're teaching, because I found a thread that kind of goes through all of these episodes too, is a lot of the creative people that I'm talking to that are, born artists and are creators and creative people in general. That's usually a big part of who they are as well, is the teaching part. So, I mean, I was a teacher for about 10 years, at the place that you met me.
Nice.
I taught people how to, use their computers and how to edit their photos. I got a really huge passion for professional photography, teaching photographers how to take better pictures and to edit and to organize in like a digital world. I got certified in Logic Pro, so I would teach people how to record their own music. And I think we're natural born teachers as well, even if every creative doesn't do it in their day to day. I think internally there's something about creative people that love to teach and love to share that knowledge, because that's what you're doing with Talent Spot, is you're taking all that knowledge and all those failures and all those successes that you've gone through in your pursuit of your career creatively, and you're sharing that with other people. There's no gatekeeping. There's not like, oh, well, these are, I had to go through this to get this knowledge. I'm not sharing that with anybody. We want to see other creative people succeed and do what they love for a living. So I just wanted to point that out, that I think that's really interesting to see that thread go through all these different episodes, because a lot of people do it either on the side or as in, for nonprofits, things like that. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad we got to talk about that.
I mean, but you made two awesome points. And the first, though, is what makes you a great teacher. And I think it's something that we connected over, is like, it's just your passion. It's your understanding. It's like you have all this knowledge and you want to share that. You want to impart that on someone, right? And what's interesting, though, what you talked about with the entertainment industry is the gatekeeping aspect. And that's the piece that I think is so shocking with people. And I think it's like when we meet with people and talk to them about what we do, and I think what they're so thrown off by is we're just so, I want to say this because this is the only time this has ever been out. Like my wife and I don't have our relationship public with our work, because we don't want that to be a weird thing. But for anyone that's listening to this, it doesn't matter, because I think they would appreciate it. But why I'm sharing all that is like, we try to really explain how everything is. We're nice, normal, regular people. And there isn't a lot of that at the base level in this industry.
Yeah.
A lot of acting schools, even out here, they will make this industry seem like it's so much harder or so much mysterious, or they'll just be mean and rude about it. And that's absolutely a form of gatekeeping, because it's their manifestation of all the problems they've had. It's what you said, another awesome thing about like how so many people in this industry, it was so hard for them, and they don't want to make it easier for other people.
It's very
and for me, but there's no reason to do that, because I've been to acting schools out here where people were threatened by me, where people saw me as competition. And I'm like, if you think this one other guy that we don't even look the same or whatever is your competition, what about the 1,000 other people in this city or 1 million other people that are all submitting for that role too.
Yeah.
So just even having that mindset, it's just like locking your brain up because you're not able to think anything constructive. And then you can't learn from that other person or lift yourself up, because every time I can work with someone on their acting or look at a self-tape, I'm learning something too. I'm learning it in a different way, but like when we recorded World Co., like we're directing these people, you know, like I shot a pilot years ago where I was directing Mark Maron, and I never directed anyone that big before, but because I had so much experience just working with people and connecting with them and like understanding and talking to them, it was really easy. That's the thing, is like you have to just treat people like people and just be nice to them, and you'll learn so much. But there's this like weird fear in this industry that if I tell you a secret, I'm losing something or you're going to get a leg up on me. And it's like, Garrett, we could do a whole podcast on like the industry and industry secrets, and hey, we could do it till the end of time, and it's just going to go on forever. And the secret, like I said, I'm going to say it one more time. This can be for if we ever started a little industry secret podcast. It's called Don't Give Up and Have a Plan. Like that's what the industry secret is. You have to keep pushing, and you have to know what you're doing and how you want to get there. And not to sound like I'm now doing a infomercial for the talent spot, but that's what it is. We try to encourage people. We give them a plan. We show them how things work. We lay things out for them. We don't just teach them how to act, we teach them how to apply those skills. Yeah. And we just try to encourage them, you know, but that's how you get successful at anything. I just think with like entertainment and acting, it's really scary because if you're getting rejected, you feel like someone's rejecting you, you know? Like if I go on a job, it just means maybe they don't think I'm the best guy at this skill, or maybe I just didn't show that skill the right way. But if I'm auditioning, they're being like, I don't like Michael. You know, it's like there's something about this guy that we don't, but it's not even that. It's just, it's not a right fit.
Yeah, you're just not,
you know,
right
it
for the
doesn't,
part. Yeah, it's not. It shouldn't be personal unless they make it personal. If they make it personal, then that's on them.
Yeah, and it means you don't want to be a part of that project. And it's like dating. Like if a date doesn't go well, it's okay. Hopefully you learn something from it. And it just means that, hey, that person's not a right fit. It's way better to learn that now than if you marry them or have a family or have kids with them. It doesn't mean we don't have feelings or we don't get hurt. But yeah, like people, especially in entertainment, I think they take it so personally because they have all this attachment to it. It's like all those stories you told me at the beginning about your favorite cartoons or you know, eating, I think it was goldfish, drinking iced tea with your pal. Like, we hold on to that sometimes. And there's people that are bringing that as like that memory and that warmth into a pitch meeting. And then when someone shoots down your idea, it's like they killed your childhood. And you have to be able to like detach. I think that's partially where that business side comes in, is we can't have like my whole life is riding on this. Because I know actors that they go into an audition where it's like they need it. And the more you need something when it comes to this industry, the less you're likely to get it, because people can smell that desperation. They can smell that fear, you know. They can, and that's also how people get exploited. You know, I don't want to take this on a dark road, but like you just have to go out there and be cool being yourself, and know that if something doesn't work right with an audition or whatever, it's nothing to do with you. It's just like dating. If someone rejects you or if someone doesn't like you at work, it's always something about them. It's something inside them. It's something that they're uncomfortable with, and it's coming out on you. Yeah. And again, I make it sound like it's easy to be like, oh, that doesn't affect me. But
yeah, it does. It's going to affect you a little bit, but you have to just keep going. You have to want it. You know, you have to say, okay, cool. Well, here's what went wrong in that. Here's what I could have done better, and move on. I mean, failure are the steps to success, I think someone wise said. Yeah, well, thank you. You've like answered all my questions before I even got to ask them, so cool. I appreciate it.
I kind of went on like a 5-minute monologue, you know, but I feel like it was like, hey, everything is like coming together now, and it's all like, hey, this is the summary.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was going to be, you know, what advice do you have for, you know, actors, voiceover artists, you know, animators, anybody who wants anything to do, like, what would be your advice to that? And I think you basically, you know, told us just have a plan. Don't give up, keep it good, and you know, for me, I just try to have everything be to the highest quality that I can do it at right now, you know, like don't try to don't try to just put stuff out there to put stuff out there. You know, I want it to be good. I want people to say, hey, you know, that person really took the time to make it look good, or they took time to cut out the boring parts or the ums and the ahs. You know, I want people to recognize that. I think the right people will if you pay attention to the details. I used to be, little known fact, I used to be an upholsterer, and we used to upholster like really high-end furniture.
That's got to be like so hard and terrifying because it's got to be perfect, right?
Exactly.
You got like one shot with that material.
Yes, exactly. And my boss, I'll never forget him. He was such an asshole, Michael. He was such an asshole. But he taught me how to really open your eyes and keep an eye out for the really fine details. And if it wasn't perfect, and I'm not talking like you have to obsess over stuff. I'm just talking about seeing it and recognizing it and doing something about it, you know. And he taught me like every welt has to be straight. The stitches have to be, you know, even. Like we redid the whole men's department for Barney's in New York City, because I was over there on the East Coast. And it was all, they wanted to redo all of the displays and all the seats and all the stuff in leather. And it was the first time I've ever worked in leather. And obviously leather is very expensive. It's hard to cut. It's hard to sew. And he never trusted me. I was a seamstress there. And he never trusted me with the leather stuff. And, you know, finally I was like, Dave, let me just sew one piece. Let me cut it. Let me sew it. And I will show you that I'll be able to do it, you know? And it was probably like a 4x4 square. You gotta put a cushion in it and then the bottom of it. And, you know, I sewed it together. I took my time. I paid attention to detail. I used the right thread. I cut it right, you know, and you can't fuck up if you cut it wrong, like losing a whole foot of material, and that costs money. So I did it. I did it as perfect as I could, and of course he found a few flaws, but then from then on out he let me cut sew the leather for Barney's. So that was one of the things that always stuck with me, was to just keep your eyes open, go slow, take your time, have it be quality, and you know, you keep putting quality out there, then you're going to get something great in return. So I agree with your philosophy.
I think that principle is amazing. I will play devil's advocate just a little bit with acting, because so many and you know what, just being a creative, where I do think so many people are so critical that they let something not being perfect, you know, not get released, or it's like it's what maybe holds you back from putting out that song, or, you know, auditioning because you worry. So I think that there is something about the technical side, because when it comes to our animation, you know, our work that we're submitting, like, yeah, like I will go into the audio and do so much work, or like I will, like when I'm composing, like the intro score for World Code, like that had like 25 iterations, and it's literally just like 3 different synth lines all like layered together. But to get to that was like a year of refinement. So it is like, I get what you're saying. I do agree in the sense that if you put out your best work, if you truly put out something that's like your best work, yes, it will get that, it should get that accolade, that respect, appreciation, but don't let the chase of perfection hold you back. Is I guess what I would say. Because yes. I see that with like performers that we work with that were afraid to audition for us, because we have like a kind of a process to like participate in our program. And some people are intimidated by that process, and they don't understand that like you just to have this kind of job or to pursue this industry, you just have to do it. And if you're I've had auditions that are just nightmare. I've done acting that like I'm so embarrassed by. It's like I thought it was good. It's like made a mistake, or like was in my head, or like I didn't have time to prepare. So to your point about refining the leather work, it's like I'm understanding all those little mistakes that I've made, so that when I get that big opportunity, when I'm on a show or if I'm pitching or whatever, now it's like I'm putting all those little pieces. That's my moment, like with you and your boss. You know, it's like I'm right now, like with Adult Swim, like I'm asking them for the leather. They've given me a little piece, but they're still not sure. Yeah. So I'm trying to do that, because I'm like, I can do this, right? Because yeah, but it's like, how do we get there? That's the hard part. But everyone has that story or that pursuit, but they, you know.
Yeah,
just
and don't get me
gotta
wrong.
go for it.
Imperfections can sometimes make the thing what it is, and to me, I feel like when because there's so many songs that I haven't released because they're not up to my standards, or there's things that are messed up in there. But there's a point where you have to say, fuck it, just leave it in there.
Yeah, it's done. The song's done.
Came in a little early, but it sounds pretty cool, so just leave it, and that's
no one's gonna know that.
Yeah, you're the only person that's gonna know that.
Like, look at George Lucas. He's been trying to redo the original Star Wars movies for so long that he just had to sell it to Disney so he would leave it alone. So it's like, it's this weird trap I think creatives can fall into, where, like, what I know exactly what to describe it with music. I have so much unreleased music, there's something about it, and it's like you just gotta like put it out there, because sometimes letting go of it helps you that next time to realize, like, oh, I can manifest what I'm trying to do. I just have to not be in my own way, because I think we're all in our own way in one way or another.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? What's the next thing on the books for you, animation-wise? You're still pushing World Car. Are we going to get any teaser trailers or any previews on that, or are we just looking at festivals at this point?
So, yeah, I think right now we're trying to put together a rework of that pilot that you saw, because we needed something just more concise and a little more snappy. So that is in the works, and a few other pitches that we're currently developing, but nothing too exciting that I can promote. But there's things out there. That's as much as we have on that end. But hopefully we'll have some exciting things to share at the new year, because we are going to have some pitches that are going to be reviewed by their incubator, which is Adult Swim Smalls. So something could be up on Smalls maybe in like 6 months, but this is all speculation.
All right, cool. So, check out Loserville on YouTube. The acting classes, how would you want to describe it? They're not classes, but
they're kind of structured classes. Yeah, they're all virtual. So they're like, we work with people in like a self-tape format, kind of like this on Zoom. It's just a talent spot. So if you Google it or go to talentspot.org or find us on Instagram, on TikTok, we hold regular auditions where we actually educate people about the industry. That's how we conduct our auditions, like letting people know how things really work, to let them know if this is something you want to do. And then we hold callbacks where we meet with people individually and then see if we're a good fit, and vice versa from there.
Cool. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, if you're still there, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're listening and you want to watch, go to YouTube at The Memo Show, TheMemoshow. Go like and subscribe, please. And if you want to listen on Spotify, you have the option to watch this as well. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Michael Grepp. He's a great guy, very nice, very knowledgeable. We had a lot of fun talking about cartoons and stuff. But once again, go to search Loserville Animation on YouTube and on Instagram. Go follow them, because they're going to be releasing some new stuff pretty soon. And if you need help with your acting career, go to thetalentspot.org. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned for next time. You never know on The Memo Show.